I do.
Okay, if
32.
you do not know, guess.
17.
You do not know. No one knows? Close. 43. So there's this thing called Facebook back in the day. You guys heard of it? Heard of Facebook? Okay. So I was alive before Facebook. Yeah, alive before Facebook. And when Facebook came out, it was actually a very exclusive thing. You know, originally it was actually a bunch of, I think it was like Ivy League colleges and colleges in the Northeast. And you know, and when Facebook became public, and not public like a public company, but in fact became open for anyone to register, you could register. So I registered really, you know, early on. So I don't know, it must have been like 15 years ago, a long time ago. Anyway, I'm no longer on Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook for years, but on Facebook there was this thing. You could, and a lot of people are concerned about Facebook because of privacy, right? There was this thing on Facebook, you fill out your profile, okay? So like profile, like a lot of other apps and things. But there's one particular part of the profile where it says relationship status. Okay? It says single, dating, married, and there's the best one, the most famous one was what? Do you guys know? Okay. The one, I don't know if it's still there.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated. Right? That was the best one. That was just like, you know, you could be dating, you know, you're in high school, middle school, you're dating someone, and you break up, and then you kind of, and it's like, just change your relationship. Like that's, sometimes people find out that we're broken up because it's changed to, it's complicated, right? And in today's passage, I'm going to read actually a whole chapter of the Bible. It's a story about, and I want you to remember that this is complicated. I think one of the challenges with this particular passage and with this, one of the themes of this passage and what it talks about God and talks about God's relationship to the world, right? And I think what happens is a lot of times when things are clearer, when things are set, black and white, things are plus minus, you know, everything is set, it's easier. But this is complicated. And this is part of, and when you're a Christian, there are going to be certain things which are complicated. There's actually a lot of things about Christianity which are complicated, but I think in this, you'll see, we're actually going to look at this passage over the next few weeks, and you'll see that just kind of the beauty of its complicatedness. But I want you to embrace the complicatedness. We'll talk about embracing how it's complicated next week. But this week, I'm just going to read, it's from a book of the Bible called, it's not called Job, it's called Job. Job chapter 1. I'm going to read the chapter 1. It's part of Job's story. And so you can just listen. Job chapter 1. This is a story about a man named Job. In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 donkeys, and had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all the people of the East. His sons used to hold feasts in their homes on their birthdays, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When the period of feasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to be purified. Early in the morning, he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, "Perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." This was Job's regular custom. One day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord God, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." "Does Job fear God for nothing?" Satan replied. "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." The Lord said to Satan, "Very well then, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. One day when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabeans attacked and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, "The fire of God fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on your camels and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, yet another messenger came and said, "Your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they are dead, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. Now, a lot of you look like you are Asian, and maybe you've been over to Asia before. I've been over to Asia before. One of the things I like the most about going over to Asia, last time I was there, I've been to Taiwan and Hong Kong, China, and most of the in Japan. One of the things I enjoy the most is actually shopping there. One of the things I enjoy the most, particularly about shopping there, is night markets. One of the things I enjoy the most about night markets is just the food right on the street, and the kind of little things that you can only buy, and the souvenirs that you can only buy in Asia, right? But one of the things you have to understand, maybe you might take it for granted, I take it for granted, but if you're not from that context, you might not realize this. And I think we might just kind of all know this, but you might not realize that when they say that something costs a certain amount, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay that amount, right? I mean, you see these stories like on YouTube, somebody sells like a $1,000 Rolex or Polex or whatever, it's a fake Rolex, and then they, they're just like, "Oh, that's I want that, 500. Oh, no, not 500, 300, 100, and then you walk away, and then they come chasing after you. "Oh no, $50, and you walk away with a $50 fake Rolex watch. And it goes with a lot of things. It's kind of the bargaining and haggling and stuff is part of that culture. Part of, they're not set prices that you have to pay. And sometimes when we read a passage, we hear this, we're like, is this what's going on here? It's like God and Satan, the devil, and kind of just haggling over this man's life. Oh, poor guy, right? I mean, it's like, this guy's going to go through all these kind of things. He's going to lose possessions, lose families, and it's just God is. What is going on? Is some kind of cosmic haggling? This is kind of scary to imagine. Does God do that these days? But I think if you think about it like that, you might miss the point of what the story is about. The story isn't really about the haggling or something. It's really about showing you how God is related to suffering, how God is related to evil, how God is related to what is going on here. Like the Bible's very clear. The Bible's very clear from how we looked at this actually a few months ago. Right? We looked at Genesis, and we were very clear that the Bible says that God did not intend for suffering. God did not intend for pain. God did not intend for evil. When he created the world, he created it in such a way that it wasn't supposed to have these things. So, I have this watch. Okay, so this is a dumb watch. Okay, this doesn't. Okay, there was a time where watches didn't connect to your phones. Okay, so. Okay, so there's a watch. It tells the time. Okay. And I know you can't read these things, the things called hands on them, so it's like, it's 11:30. There's no numbers, it's just these lines, right? So it's 11:29, okay, so. And this watch has a purpose, right? Its purpose is to tell the time, right? And even though you can't read it, I can read it, okay? Trust me. It's 11:29 or 20, right? It can tell the time. Now, if I take this dumb watch, and you can't really see that. If I take this watch here, I take my phone here, and I say, okay, dumb watch, connect to my phone. It's not going to connect to my phone, right? If I say, okay, reset, right? connect to, pairing, no, it's not gonna pair. Right? If I say, please watch, please just connect it, it's just not, right? Why not? Why won't it connect? Because it wasn't made like that. It wasn't made for that purpose. There's no way it ever connects. And the more I try, if I try to, I could be nice about it, coax it, please, it's not gonna, but the more I try, maybe I take it and start, I don't know, just tap it, maybe tap NFC, something, and it's not gonna work. And then maybe I start smashing it. Maybe I start, please, like, get, the more I try, the longer I try, the more frustrated, the the worse it will actually get, right? It's just not gonna work that way because it wasn't designed that way.
People are gonna think you're crazy.
People are gonna think I'm crazy, yeah. And if anything, I'm gonna break the watch, right? Or break my phone, or break both of them, right? It's not gonna work because it wasn't designed like that. And that's the way that, when God created this world, He didn't create it for people to go their own way. He didn't create it with suffering and evil, but because people decided to go against Him, because people wanted to do their own thing, because they had in mind their own thing, that they wanted it to work a certain way, they decided, forget what God says. I want to do this. This is what I want. And the more and more people choose to rebel against God, the more and more people choose to go their own way, the worse things became. And suffering, evil, pain, death, things that aren't the way that things are supposed to be, started to happen and happen more and more and more. That's where suffering comes in. That's where evil comes in. That's why suffering and evil exists in this world. And you can see even from the story, right? The story of Job. It's not that God wanted these things to happen. But the devil, Satan, came. It was his idea to come. His idea to come here. But notice, Satan comes to God and asks permission from God to do these things. It's as if God is in control of it, right? As if Satan needs permission from God to do it, and yet God allows it. He allows it for His own reasons. No, actually, Satan's very clear about it. He says that, he basically says, the reason why Job, such a righteous man, listens to you, obeys you, is because you've been good to him. You supply things in his life, and he's rich. He has lots of animals. He has a big family. He's happy. You take these things away, Job's not gonna be faithful to you anymore. He challenged him, and then God allows Satan to do these things. Why? To prove to Satan that he's wrong. So in the end, the opposite happens, right? Satan is trying to discredit Job, but God allows Satan to do things, bad things, to do the opposite of what Satan wanted. It's kind of interesting, right? God allowing bad things to happen for His own purposes, His own reasons, which were actually the opposite for Satan's. God limits the suffering. Now, if you are, if you're listening to this, and maybe you're not a Christian, or maybe you don't go to church, or you've never heard of the stuff, God stuff before, or whatever, right? This is kind of different, right? Kind of a different way of thinking of suffering. I think philosophically, I think theoretically, there's generally two ways that people look at suffering in this world. If you go to the average person at Target or Sprouts, you're going to ask them, why does evil exist? Why do bad things exist? Right? There's generally two ways that people respond. Right? There's one way, which is kind of more just the religious way, right? And they say, well, bad things happen because it's kind of like karma, right? It's like bad because you do bad things, right? So you do something you're not supposed to, right? You do, you disobey God. You're dishonest. You do something you're not supposed to. You're immoral, whatever. And you're gonna get what's coming to you, right? That's one way people look at bad things. So bad things happen because you do these bad things, so you get what you deserve, right? the other group of people, the people that are not as religious, the people that are, I guess, more secular or more non-religious, they don't believe that. They don't believe that it's not just payback. They tend to say that the reason why bad things happen is because it's random. It's uncontrollable. There's no God, or there's a God that doesn't care, or is incompetent, or he doesn't really love you, or he doesn't, And so because he's incompetent, then it's just random. So bad things happen because, for some people, because you do bad things, and it's just kind of karma, and it's just what you deserve. Or the other way is that it's just random. There's no control. But generally, when you ask people about bad things, why bad things happen, they tend to go one way or the other. But if you notice in this passage, neither of those are presented like that. In fact, what God is in total control. He allows it, even though Job didn't do anything wrong. It's not like he deserved it. It's complicated. Right? It's not just one or the other. It's actually very complicated. But see, that's why it's so beautiful. And that's why it gives you hope for today. I don't know if you like roller coasters. Do you guys, who likes roller coasters? Okay, a lot of people, okay, wow. Well, I hate roller coasters. Roller coasters, to me, I think are basically modern day torture machines, right? If you want to torture me, strap me in somewhere, restrict me from moving, throw me around, make me scared, make me want to throw, that's torture, right? I mean, it's pretty much a torture machine, right? That you pay for. You pay $50 to go on a torture machine, right? That to me is a torture. You literally decide to go into something, and they restrict you. They keep you from moving. Your arms, your legs, your whole body sometimes, and then they make you hang from things. They make you, you're going down this track and you're going to the right, all of a sudden it goes to the left, right? And you're going back to the right, and